something about. We say we love, we really love. We see you, we care. Please be yourself while you're here. That's exactly what keeps me coming back. Namasté, we feel some kind of way, there's something about. We say we love, we really love. We see you, we care. Please be yourself while you're here. That's exactly what. That's exactly what. That's exactly what keeps me coming back.
Woo! I say yes to that. Thank you, thank you. Yes, music team, amazing, amazing. Hello, namaste. Hello, live streamers. Good to be here. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. My name is Reverend Veronica, and I want to welcome you here to our Sunday service. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad that you could join us online or in our beautiful space here. If you are new, we are so glad you are here with us. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Namaste is a radically welcoming community. We believe all paths lead to an awakening. We are here collectively revealing that love is the nature of who we already are. Do you get that? I want to say that again. This is really important. Love is the nature of who we already are. Can I get an amen to that? Yes. Woo! All right. So let us read our slide together of who we are. I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you, which is love, truth, light, and peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we recognize that we are one. Yes. And when you walked in, you were probably handed a prayer card. If you did not receive a prayer card, please raise your hand and we can get one for you. All right, we have a couple. We'll bring those on up. Just give us a moment. And then for those of you online, you can write it down on a slip of paper. And your intention today may be connection, presence, peace, love, hope, whatever it is today and throughout the week. We will hold you in prayer. Our practitioners and ministers will be holding you in prayer throughout the week. So just know that. And we know that prayer works. Yes. All right. I think everybody has a prayer card. And you can leave them in the back in the foyer. There's a box where you can set your prayer cards. So thank you, and we're going to move on to our song, Kong. Oh, that rhymed. Okay.
This morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Kong and Dez and Lorenzo. Aren't they awesome? Yeah? Good afternoon, Namaste. I'm Jesse Keeler, one of your licensed practitioners. And I'd like to invite up one of our beloved licensed to pray practitioners, Candace, to light the candle. And this candle that Candace is bringing forth represents the light of love, the light of life that is everywhere and everything and that shines throughout each and every one of us. And if you would join me in reading our affirmation. There is only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. I want to try that one more time because I want you to feel this. So just put your hand on your heart right here. Feel your heart beating. You feel your heart beating? I want you taking a deep breath. Feel in that oxygen coming into your body. Feel that as you exhale. And let's try this one more time and feel it. There's only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. Beautiful. Thank you for bearing with me with that. And if you pray with me right now, knowing that there is a divine creative spirit, this thing we call God, this thing we call life, we invite into this sanctuary with us right here and right now. And as we open to the Spirit of God in our sanctuary, that each and every member of this community draws in all those that have come before us, all those that live with us now, and all that is yet to be, knowing that there is only love and light and joy and peace in the unity of this oneness. And as this service unfolds, it will unfold in divine right order with our blessed Reverend Bobby giving us the word and our beautiful musicians lifting our spirits and each and every person that helps with the sound and the streaming. That this service, as it is now and as it is recorded, and for those who will see it in the future, is perfect in a divine right order, because this is a blessed moment in which we all partake. And I say it's good, and it's very good, and you are loved, and so it is. And with that, I'd like to bring up our awesome Board of Trustees President, Susan Kaylock.
Oh, I like that applause before I even do anything. It's at this time that I invite you to stand up and say hello to one another. And if there's some unfamiliar face, introduce yourself. Okay, friends, if I could have you back in your seats. And at this time, I invite you to join me in reading our mission statement. We are a joy-filled, loving center of spiritual growth. We create transformative connections and build bridges of unity for an all-inclusive humanity. We are Namasté. And how do we do this? We awaken to the truth in our lives. We realize these truths and how they've played out in our lives. We take our new knowledge and transform our lives, and we repeat the process in new ways over and over again. Power statements: we are a place of connection, healing, and unity. Hashtag we are Namaste. Hashtag this stuff works. I am happy to announce the return of the membership class. It has been a really long time. We have 9 people signed up so far. If there's anyone, 8. Oh, anyways, if you have not signed up and you are interested in becoming a member of this wonderful community, Jesse has the sign-up sheet. There is a class that you must attend in order to become a member. It is January 29th here at Namasté, beginning at 2 o'clock and ending at 3:30. There will be an email sent to anyone that signs up with the details later this week. This coming Wednesday, January 25th, is the Spiritual Soup, hosted by Jeff Schlick, and this time his guest is returning. It's Danny Michaels. He is an angel reader and medium. He will do live readings that are informative and supportive. Register on Eventbrite. The link is in our newsletter. Daily spiritual support is offered every weekday morning at 7 a.m. by our practitioners. Join by registering again on Eventbrite and or calling in and spend time with reading, connection, meditation. We also have support in our Safe Place, a grief support group. It is on the second Wednesday at 7 p.m. and the fourth Monday at 10 a.m. New this coming Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. is Visioning for a Beloved Community, and this will be done in conjunction with the Seal Beach community. So join us in visioning for what our community has in our future and what do we want it to look like. You have to register on Eventbrite. It is a private event. The link is in the newsletter. Namaste and Seal Beach Collaborative Service, we've said this, it's every third Sunday. The next one is February 19th here at Namaste at 4:30. We'll have a community meeting afterwards to catch you up on all the work that's being done with the discovery and exploration teams. And I want to say thank you to all of you who said yes to being on one of those exploration and discovery teams. We met last week and the room was buzzing with the excitement and just well, it was excitement to get started on the process and to dig into where we're at now and where we could be in the future. There is another thank you, but I have to go out of this PowerPoint for a moment, so please bear with me. Oh, Bobby's gonna yell at me. Did it wrong, sorry, my mistake. I really know what I'm doing, people, I'm just a little nervous. And you'll see why in a moment. And Chris Schreiber, if I could have you come up with me. Okay. The purpose of the CSL movement is to raise consciousness Through Rev Bobby's spiritual leadership, our community's consciousness has been raised. Rev Bobby has utilized her creativity to keep this community together through unprecedented times. She has given her heart, mind, tithe, and time to ensure our community feels connected, seen, and most importantly, loved. She has always maintained an even keel, reminding us that there is always a third way led by Spirit, whether it's external or internal. In times of stress, the community needed a leader in the truest sense of the word, and Rev Bobby Becker was and remains that beacon. She will choose what is right over what is easy every time. Rev Bobby Becker celebrated her 5th anniversary with Namasté in December 2022. What follows is a tribute to her, her leadership, and all that she has accomplished in those 5 years. Sit down, buckle up, and get comfortable.
Reverend Bobby is a powerful leader. She is creative and a natural-born trailblazer. Rev Bobby is a problem solver and a burden lifter. She is brilliant, dedicated, and committed. Simply put, Rev Bobby defines spiritual leadership. Okay. Through challenging and uncertain times of the past, this says 3 years, I'm going to go with 5.
Let's go 5.
Rev Bobby has provided a foundation of spiritual wisdom and faith, has led us through deep contemplation, structured our work in spiritual tools, had difficult conversations, and took principle-backed actions. She provided light, joy, joyful, connective presence, and modeled healthy boundaries. She helped us return our center to its center. Our community has confidence in her judgment, skill set, and ability to handle whatever comes.
In the past 5 years, Rev Bobby acted as our minister in the gap and spiritual guide during our search for a new minister.
She became the unanimous choice for Namasté CSL senior minister.
She became an ordained CSL minister.
She created and supported The Gathering, a group designed to bring like-minded millennials together.
She created and supported The Hive, a monthly storytelling event at Namasté.
She unified the divide within the community.
She quickly responded to the destruction left behind after the riots in downtown Long Beach as she led a group of congregants the following morning to the shattered and empty storefronts.
She reintroduced a pledge program, integrating it with our software system, Servant Keeper.
She led the effort to clean up our membership database by contacting longtime members that have not attended in some time.
She implemented the use of our member portal through Servant Keeper so that congregants can track their tithes and pledges.
She helped the community vision for a new home.
She connected with like-minded spiritual leaders in Long Beach for shared space opportunities.
She built a sharing relationship with our church partner, Christ Lutheran.
She structured a financial agreement we could sustainably manage with that center.
She facilitated a cleaning out of our old building while honoring Namasté's history.
She held ceremonies to celebrate our prior and new homes and those who have long served it.
She helped us restructure our financial debt through grants, low-cost loans, loan forgiveness, and new agreements.
She kept abreast of local COVID guidelines and guided the bot in determining the appropriateness of meeting in person.
She researched and implemented the tools to live stream our service when we could not meet in person. She literally directed each service and coordinated all the participants from their individual homes during the pandemic.
She built connective experiences during COVID, weekly happy hour, virtual bingo, and a sing-along, and she called every member to provide support and a structured network.
She created the Love Wins Parade, in which congregants decorated their cars and drove through the streets of Long Beach.
She researched and implemented the use of Live Control, a streaming service for churches.
She cleaned up our YouTube channel and regularly posts our Sunday service in addition to her uncommon conversations.
She has conducted retreats for both the Board of Trustees and practitioners.
She's hired and mentored our staff minister, Rev Veronica.
She hired sound and video techs to stream our Sunday service and mentored them as well.
Rev Bobby's work reaches far beyond our Namasté community. Outreach is important to her, and regardless of where she is or who she is working with, she displays the same talents, skills, and consciousness of CSL principles.
In the past 5 years, Rev Bobby Becker has attended CSL conferences and encouraged the Board of Trustees and practitioners to do the same.
She has sat on ministerial and practitioner panels.
She has mentored ministers.
She's created a multi-center choir.
She consistently consulted the field leader and regional coordinator for input and guidance.
She brought in CSL ministers and their unique offerings to our centers at Sunday service.
She's been a trailblazer in the world of streaming the message of Science of Mind.
She made sure our Sunday service is live streamed as cleanly and professionally as possible.
She reaches out and checks in with other CSL ministers in the area and across the nation.
She reached out to the Interfaith Council and has spoken at meetings to share our philosophy and teachings.
Kept up with the themes presented by Home Office and incorporates them into her Sunday talks.
She has revamped our website and coordinated the redesign and distribution of our weekly newsletter.
Created uncommon conversations, talks with uncommon people serving as spiritual leaders in diverse ways. And more. And more. This is like being a Golden Globe presenter, isn't it? It is.
It is.
Rev Bobby is constantly looking at curriculum and evaluating the needs of the community. She follows the prescribed curriculum from Home Office, but also has created her own curriculum at times, or worked in conjunction with others to offer the community a variety of courses that fit their interest and time availability. She has also encouraged practitioners and congregants to create curriculum based on their particular interests, me as well. In whatever form she has taught, Rev Bobby leads by example in revealing vulnerability and honesty that inspires all of us to go deeper, especially after Chapter 7.
In the past 5 years, Rev Bobby Becker has conducted and taught many classes, too many to list.
Too many to list. Worked with other CSL ministers to create the Wisdom School.
Created collaborative experiences with Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living, including a collaborative Adventures in Faith.
Formed a spiritual think tank to consider alternate structures for centers.
Conducted visioning sessions with the Board of Trustees, practitioners, and the community as a whole whenever there is a need to step back and examine or ready ourselves to move forward into the next highest good. Life is a practice, and whatever the practice is, Rev Bobby practices and demonstrates the principles of Science of Mind as she understands them in the present moment. As Rev Bobby has forward movement in her experiences, she expands in her learning in an ever greater understanding of the principles to then more fully express this next deeper understanding in her life. This flow of understanding and expression appears in all aspects of her life without exception. Rev Bobby's daily spiritual practice comes first every morning. She uses the power of visioning in her own life and the life of Namasté. In the midst of troubling times, Bobby goes to the power of prayer, and she goes straight to gratitude in the midst of joyful experiences. She has asked for advice and or prayer by family, longtime friends, longtime work peers, congregants, fellow ministers, and practitioners and spiritual leaders from other faiths, because Rev Bobby lives the principle, and everyone knows this.
In the past 5 years, Reverend Bobby Becker has conducted visioning sessions for our center, extrapolating and contemplating the common themes in those sessions and determining what is the next action to take.
She has created ways to bring inclusion and diversity to our center.
She's created and implemented pop-up demonstrations in which congregants were asked to share on platform demonstrations of the Science of Mind philosophy in their own lives.
She teaches and reflects Science of Mind in every counseling session, class taught, sermons given, and all meetings.
She reads, and reads more, and is thoughtful in her selection of Book of the Month for the community.
She examines and contemplates her life experiences and implements the principles as she deepens in her knowing.
She teaches by example of who she is and how she handles difficulty.
She walks the talk. Everything she says and does is from living in alignment with spiritual practice. Whoopsies, I did something bad. Oh my God. Practitioners, if I have you come forward. It wasn't really about you, Bobby, it was about them. Rev Bobby Becker is our leader. She has led and guided us in so many ways in the short span of 5 years. Everything that you just heard is what Bobby does, and she does it all the time. She has dedicated herself to our community, and as such, we honor her today. So Rev Bobby, if you would come join us. The practitioners just blessed the box, laid their hands. On behalf of the community, the practitioners, and the Board of Trustees, we present you with this gratitude box in honor of all the years and everything that you have done for us and the example you are in our lives. Thank you, Rev Bobby.
I'm slightly overwhelmed. I feel tired a little bit from that list. That explains why I'm tired. You know, it's a call. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it, right? So I think I've grown more in 5 years than I could have imagined. And I have to keep reminding myself that it's the journey. There's no destination. And that every day is a gift. So I just thank you. And thank you.
No, I'm not. Why is it doing that? I think I messed it up. I don't tell Bobby I did. You know what? She doesn't need her. She just need her.
Is this the right one?
Yeah, she just need her nuts.
Power of now is always present, nowhere to be. And where you are, power of now flows so gracefully. Power of now is always perfect, nothing to be than who you are. The power of now flows so easily. you think you need to control, for everything goes away. Let everything wash away. The power of now. Power of now is ever flowing, connecting us all to the one. The power of now unfolds so peacefully. To let go of everything you think you need to know. Be strong enough to let go of everything you think you need to control, for everything goes away. Let everything wash away. The power of now. The power of now. Power of now. Thank you.
Just stay in that moment. Thank you. It's beautiful. And I'd like to introduce our lead practitioner, Jeff Schlicht from Sedona.
Thank you for allowing me to do that. Hello, Namaste. My name is Jeff Schlicht, licensed practitioner with Namasté Center for Spiritual Living. I reside in Sedona, so I'm coming to you this way. So thank you for allowing me to do that. As Candace said during her talk, she loves January because it's back to basics. I have got to agree with her. When things get complicated in my life, I love simple, and that's what basics are to me. The talk title today, did I shave my legs for this? Well, I don't shave my legs, but I do shave my face. And what that means to me is I'm all dressed up and I got no place to go because it's not turning out the way I wanted it to and the expectations. So I want to break this into 3 parts, and that is surrender to a bigger idea, struggle as part of my journey, and the other is joy of simply being alive. That's a wonderful thing. If there were rooms that we would go to, and 12-step program, that's what we call them. If there was a control room, there's a chair with my name embedded on it. And the word surrender would not have been in my vocabulary because it's not something I was comfortable with. But surrender is really letting go. It is not a place of no action and taking what you get. That is not the case. But this all dressed up and no place to go is I have such a set expectation of what needs to happen in order to make me comfortable. That's what control meant to me, is that I let go and release. And one example of that is prayer. Prayer is not a drive-through like McDonald's where you put your prayer in to the little squawk box and they take your order. You drive to the next room.
Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you for turning that back on. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and go to the song right now. And we're going to jump into what I appreciate what Jeff said is the fact that I'm ready and know where to go. It's certainly one way to look at it, isn't it? So we're going to go ahead and go to the music. I think we're having some drag in our Wi-Fi, so we'll just keep moving, okay?
People get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and boredom. There is hope for all among those loved the most. No room for the hopeless sinner who would hurt all mankind just to save his own. Have pity on those whose chances grow thinner, so there's no hiding place against the kingdom's throne. Come on. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. You just thank the Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Rev Bobby Becker, everybody. Thank you, Bobby.
So Jesus, Moses, and an old man are playing golf one day. Got that going in your head? Moses steps up to the tee and he hits the ball, and it goes over the fairway and lands in the water right in front of the green. He walks up, he parts the water, and he chips the ball right onto the green. Gosh, I want that game. Jesus steps up to the tee and he hits the ball and it goes sailing onto the water, and he walks up to the water and he walks across the water and he chips the ball onto the green. There's an old man playing with them. He walks up, steps up to the tee, he hits the ball, it goes sailing over the fairway and it heads for the water trap. But just before it lands into the water, a fish jumps out and it grabs the ball. And this bird flies with this ball in its mouth, and it gets to the green, this lightning. Wait, I left a part out, didn't I? Hold on a second. Fish in the ball. Eagle comes down, grabs the fish. As the eagle is flying over the green, lightning strikes the eagle. The fish drops onto the green. As the fish hits the green, the ball rolls out of the mouth of the fish and into the hole. Jesus turns to the old man and he says, "Dad, if you don't stop fooling around, we're not bringing you again." This has nothing to do with my talk. You know, I thought about this talk title for a myriad of reasons. One of it is because of the fact that oftentimes, sort of what Jeff talks about, you know, I shave my legs or whatever it is. Every Sunday morning, he talks about getting ready. Every Sunday morning, I get up, like any other day, I do my spiritual practice. I meditate, I pause, I read, I study. I do a host of things, including, before I get in the shower, I pick out my outfit, which I'm very careful about, because I want to feel comfortable and I want to look good. It's all for me. I want to feel good so that I'm not thinking about anything when I'm doing something, except what I'm doing. After I've picked up my outfit, I pick out my accessories, and then I go and I get in the shower. And I proceed to do great self-care, which includes I shave my legs. Now, there might be a few weeks in which I don't in the winter. Today I did, and no, I'm not going to prove it to you. But the deal is this. I do everything to get ready to show up. When I show up, though, it's not all about me. It's never all about me. It can't be all about me. It's why I come into community. I show up in community fully prepared, and in a sense, did I shave my legs for this is I did my prep work before coming in, and whatever happens, happens. Just like when technology doesn't work. Whatever happens, happens. And if I lose my head over it, it doesn't serve anyone, including myself. I've been doing that for 5 years here. It's part of the deal. It's part of the journey. Now I know this video is going to work. Maybe. All right, everyone turn their Wi-Fi off.
Rebels, the troublemakers. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
How many of you saw that video when it came out? In some respects, some of you may have been inspired because it's an inspiring video. There's something deeply wrong about it, though. Besides some other obvious facts, like there's not enough women and not enough people of color and a host of things. But there is one big thing that's wrong with the video. Not one person in that video that were the innovators did it on their own. And it's often portrayed that way, that we do things on our own, and if we don't do things on our own, then there's something wrong. And that is a heavy load for each one of us to carry. These folks that are portrayed in this video didn't do this by themselves. There was no way possible that they could at all. No way could they be that influential, that innovative, without help. Ella Baker, who was one of the foremost civil rights leaders that got very, very little credit, if at all, said that one of the things that she said is there's a danger in our culture that because a person is called upon to give public statements and is acclaimed by the establishment, such a person gets to the point of believing that he is or she is the movement. It is absolutely not true. Some of the folks that are mentioned in this, which is Martin Luther King, and believe me, what I'm about to say does not diminish who they are. They were fantastic people, but they did not do it alone. It required light, a particular kind of light that comes in the way of each one of us, and in their cases were people that they were close to. For Martin Luther King, Bayard Rustin provided King with a deep understanding of nonviolent ideas. That's where he got the idea. And tactics at a time when King had only an academic familiarity with Gandhi. Rustin later recalled the glorious thing is that he came to a profoundly deep understanding of nonviolence through the struggle itself and through reading the discussions which he had the process of carrying on the protest. King knew the advantages of Rustin's knowledge, his contacts, his organizational abilities, and he invited him to serve as his advisor, well aware that Rustin's background was going to be controversial. He was arrested for being a gay man. He still worked in the civil rights movement. Ella Baker was as influential as Martin Luther King, but she did not get any credit because as a female, you really weren't allowed to speak at the time. Ministers were allowed to speak. Male ministers were allowed to speak. What was amazing about Ella Baker is she mobilized with the grassroots, while Dr. King mobilized with the grass tops. Ella had a group-centered approach to engaging knowledge that was often not recognized, and today she has a center dedicated to her work in Oakland. She was the grassroots part of the movement. She was part of the fact that when you really think about it, how did those millions of people show up for the March on Washington? It was because of Ella Baker. She made that happen. The women of the movement made that happen, and they did not get recognized. It's typical in history that a lot of folks that show and participate and partner up and, I love this word, collaborate. Behind Einstein was Michel Angelo Basso, and he was the sounding board for many years for Einstein. He helped Einstein get a job at the Swiss patent office where he worked. He's also credited with introducing Einstein to the works of Ernst Mach, an Austrian physicist and philosopher who's noted for his contribution to ethics and the study of shock waves. Mach was a prominent figure in his time for the position on logical positivism, and Einstein was drawn to his ideas through his criticism of Sir Isaac Newton. Mach greatly influenced Einstein's approach and later his theory of relativity. Have you heard of him? Gandhi's had many supporters, and his A-team was his spouse. She was the biggest supporter of the movement that he was involved in, which was for India to obtain independence from Great Britain. Edison, the single most important individual behind his inventions, is not necessarily Edison. He was never about individual efforts. It was not something that he did. Everything about his work was directly connected to other contributors. His success was dependent on their success in the lab. He had the vision to pull in people who could take ideas to fruition. He became known for his midnight lunch, and it was when him and his colleagues would get together and brainstorm over the very ideas that became real. The challenge we have in our culture is the fact that we live in a hyper-individualistic culture, that we are supposed to do things on our own, pick us up by our bootstraps. And there are people that don't even have boots. We are often considered a failure if we don't accomplish things that are considered success in the real world, when none of the folks that are considered success ever did what they did without one of the most important practices: asking for help. None of them would have been on that video if they hadn't asked for help or taken help. People are seen in our culture as separate individuals, not group members. And even though we need time to be alone and to be by ourselves, the challenge is that often Americans seem self-centered and are very isolated and lonely. It's what happens through this hyper-individualistic culture that we have. Oftentimes, it's competition over collaboration because we have to be the best, even between spiritual communities and religious communities and just communities in general. Who has the most people in the room? Can I tell you how many times I look out and go, did I do this? That's what the world has taught us, that somehow, as the leader, that we are ultimately and only responsible for the success of everything that happens in a community. It's a burden we don't need to carry. It's certainly not a burden any one of us should. There's several reasons why people struggle for help. Some people may fear that asking for help makes them appear incompetent. I've certainly been guilty of that one. And yet, none of us would pull our own tooth. We'd go to a dentist. We wouldn't perform surgery on ourselves, remove something, although I've known people that have. We don't do those things because why? Well, because we know for a fact that we don't have necessarily the appropriate and proper experience and training to do this. But we will do something that's so critical in our lives, such as our own spiritual and personal evolution, that we will try to do it on our own. Can you imagine? It's crazy. 5 years ago, Janine and I were looking for a new house, and as we were going through some of the homes, there were some that we looked at that had been flipped. Someone had purchased them, they went in and made some, I would say, more cosmetic changes, and honestly, as I looked at some of those cosmetic changes, I was deeply concerned about what was underneath. We live in a DIY culture, a do-it-yourself culture, and sometimes that do-it-yourself is what gets us the most in trouble, when really doing it with others is really the way that we can truly experience great personal and spiritual transformation. Doing it ourselves rarely works. Although I think replacing the headlights in my motorhome worked just brilliantly because I watched a YouTube video and was able to do it. But the interesting thing about that is there was a point which I knew that if I had reached in replacing headlights or anything that I do mechanically, I look at it and I go, okay, Bobby, is this really something you want to tackle? Or should you pull that lifeline out and call someone to do it? And there are times that we do it. We could have remodeled our own kitchen. We chose not to because the skill sets required would have meant that it would have taken longer, but also that it probably wouldn't have looked the way we really wanted it. That what was underneath, and this is key, what was underneath it all was correctly and adequately addressed because there were a few issues. We had a sloping ceiling, to which I found out everybody does. But I didn't know that. There are things that we do by ourselves and on our own that are things that we should never, ever think about tackling. But yet, this is what's interesting about some of the research. Did you know that children stop asking for help around age 7? I know some of you stopped asking for help a long time ago. The research, in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who said that when her daughter was 7 years old, she picked her up from school, she's driving her home from school, she turns to her mom and she says, "Mom, will you unscrew this bottle, my water bottle?" And she says, "Well, sweetie, are you thirsty?" She goes, "Yeah, I didn't have any all day." And she says, "Why didn't you ask anybody for help?" And she goes, "Because I didn't want people to think I didn't know what I was doing." So imagine for just a moment, too, that you've had trauma in your life, whether it's in your childhood or adulthood, because I have found that trauma happens anytime. And you try to do it on your own. You try to figure it out with that head of yours, mine, that is so traumatized, that really doesn't have both the skill and this vision, the sight to look at it, to look and really see what kind of shift needs to happen. What do I need to look at? I remember in my 20s and 30s going into my therapist's office and saying, "Here's what I want to deal with today," and walked out dealing with something completely different. Because what I thought I needed to fix was really just a symptom, and I needed to go look at the cause. And a therapist had the skill set to coach me through it. And there were times even before I would do that, I would say, "Well, I don't even know what to talk to." And so I even avoided going into therapy because I didn't know what to say, and realized that that's not my job, that that's what that expert is there for, to support us on our journey, to understand things like timing and how to have conversations and give coping skills, to bring that idea of how can I deal with my life in a way that is in the healthiest and the highest and best, not just for me, but the mess that I was making around me for everyone else. No one does it alone. But if we give people light, they will find a way. From the pandemic, folks are feeling burnt out, isolated. There's been a change in identity for many of us, changing direction, changing priorities. We've retreated, and in some cases, we've pre-prioritized our lives. We've lost identities in a world that shut down for some time. We've changed our habits. I have found all the different cakes that I love to eat. And all the different chips now that I just never knew existed before. We've adopted some habits that are healthy and some that are not. And we've been, I really believe, reduced down to the things that we most need to deal with, because there is no way I can live in this head without a little bit of help. The most important thing to understand about U.S. Americans is probably their devotion to individualism. They have been trained from early in their lives to consider themselves separate individuals who are responsible for their own situations in life and their own destinies. Our philosophy emphasizes that. But that was to deal with it personally. What we've left out on the fact is that I'm not here just for me. And even if I was here just for me, I can't do it without you. I can't do it without you as a mirror, and you can't do it without me as one. For we mirror back the love that we need through this time in the process of self-exploration and evolution. And if we choose to do it alone, we're left with all the beautiful things in our head that often come in the shape of self-loathing, self-criticism, comparison. I can do it myself, that DIY ethic, that ethic of self-sufficiency, has both positive and negative effects. There are times it works when I need to be alone and just to consider and be in my own thoughts, to be in a space where I can sit back and reflect. Absolutely. When I need to study, there are times when I will step back and study. But to really process anything that I read and or study, which at least half of you in this room I have talked with about the things I read, and to get a different take on it allows me to open up to a myriad of meanings. My aha moments often come, yes, when I'm doing it by myself, But they come when I'm in community with others and I see people modeling and doing things that are positive and loving. And when I see folks that are struggling and having challenges, because I'm watching, and the practice, at least in this role, is can I look at things from an objective standpoint without blame or judgment, without saying you're right or wrong. And if I can do that in community, I can do that with myself. If we wish to have a less limited experience, we must sacrifice our limitations, which is Ernest Holmes. The invitation that he's given us here is one of the limitations is to do it all on our own. While I believe some of you have taken Foundations and Roots, which is all about how Science of Mind came to be, the idea of self-reliance is truly important. But to be separate and to not reach out and ask for help through our own journey. I ask for help. I have at least 10 people on speed dial. I have a therapist that I talk to when I just can't seem to process something that may have brought up a feeling that is old and familiar. I have a prayer partner that I reach out to when I need prayer. Sometimes I reach to our own practitioners and say, I'd love to have prayer right now. Other ministers, friends, resources, people that have expertise in areas that I may not have. When Namasté had to go live online within a week, exclusively online, I got on the phone with about half a dozen people and said, what solutions do you know of? Talked to folks all over the country about what they were doing to figure out exactly how we could, as a community, stay alive and afloat. There's nothing that I've done that has been isolated and in a vacuum or a void. Any decision I make for this community is always reaching out and having a conversation, not because I don't trust myself, but because I know that my thinking is still limited by ego and a host of things, including when I'm faced with my own personal struggle around anything. I never just try to do it by myself. It doesn't work. I've practiced that way too long and know that. Some of the reasons we don't reach out, negative associations. We may associate help seeking with a negative view of taking handouts, or think that we may be perceived as being lazy, incompetent, or something else. We are our own worst critics, self-criticism. Asking for help means we're incapable or weak. Concerns about how we'll be perceived. Well, I just don't want to be a burden. That's one of my favorites. And I think as we get older, that becomes the most common phrase that I've heard. I don't want to be a burden to my kids. I don't want to be a burden to others. I don't want to be a burden. And yet, our DNA is absolutely designed to be there for each other. That's what we're designed for. Overestimating the likelihood of rejection. What if somebody says they can't help me? If someone says they can't help me, I make another call. Give people light and they will find a way. What's the light? What's the light? Exactly. Each one of us here are the light. Each one of us here will at some point be there for others. You're doing it now. Don't minimize the help you give, but don't minimize the help that can be given to you. Our practitioners are what they're here for. They are trained on how does life get to be the way it is. They are trained with an understanding of how these things happen in life through the action of the law, so that we can release emotional bondage to people and conditions. They are trained to come to learn to accept life as it is. Now, they practice this, they're not perfect. They learn how consciousness is the cause in our lives and in the lives of others. They stand in objectivity, removed from blame, wrong, and right. They see each person as the journey, not as good or bad, just as people, and a condition to which is met attention and a spiritual solution. They are trained to know that each person is having an experience of a particular perception, and they treat consciousness. We've been trained to question with intent to support folks in their finding their way, not giving advice. We practice presence, mindfulness, and equanimity. We do that as practitioners, it's what we're trained for. So I'm going to ask the practitioners that are here today if you will just raise your hand. If you are struggling today, raise it big. I can't even see you guys. Put that hand way up so people can see you. These folks are here for you. They're also here for each other. If you are struggling today, ask for help. That's what they're here for. That's why they show up on Sundays, to be here. Practitioners, you can put that hand down. Thank you so much for doing that. For those of you that struggle with asking for help, your assignment this week, should you choose to accept it, is that when you're struggling, please don't wait. Please don't wait for things to get so bad that you're down that rabbit hole and you can't see any way out. Reach out for help. Reach out for help this week just because doing it all yourself is not the point. It's just not the point. The point is we serve and are served by each one in this community and in our world. And for that, I am grateful. Let's pray. So what I recognize right here and right now is this power and presence that we call God. It is the action of the universe. It is also representative in infinite, diverse ways. It does not act without the collective consciousness of the entire universe. It is each person in the room, individually and collectively, and there is no separation between anyone here, anyone in the universe, any creation. I know that I'm one with this power, this creative power, and what I affirm right here and right now, knowing that that is true for all, is that help is here, not just in the way of when I need it, but just in the way of inviting others into my life, in a way that reconnects us all during a time when connection was so tough, so difficult. And so now the invitation is back into the practice of community and the release of separation. So as we walk through this week, when we're struggling or when we're in joy, we think of opportunities. We look at ways in which we can be of help and be helped, knowing that our spiritual evolution as individuals and as the entire universe depends on it. And in that truth, I recognize that right here and right now. So I accept this challenge for myself and others. And I call it good and very good. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for coming today.
See the moon roll across the stars. See the seasons turn like a heart. Your father's days are lost to you. This is your time here to do what you will do. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We should shake this world if you only show us how. Your life is now. Would you teach your children to tell the truth? Would you take the high road if you could choose? Do you believe you're a victim of great compromise? 'Cause I believe you would change your mind and change our lives. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We could shake this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now. Children to tell the truth. This is your time, here to do what you will do. Here we go, one more time, come here. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We could shake this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now. Your life is now.
Am I here now? Thank you. I was just a little impatient, that's all. Besides February 19th, which is here at Namasté, if you go to Seal Beach, there's no service that morning at Seal Beach. It's our collaborative service. We'll be doing this every other month here at Namasté and every other month over at Seal Beach. So when there is a collaborative service at Seal Beach, somebody want to tell me what happens here? Nothing. Thank you so much. You guys are learning. I love that part. So the collaborative means that we're really working together to see how this may work. We're exploring it. So with that, I also want to say that February 12th, does anybody know what's on February 12th? Super Bowl Sunday. Now, I'm not necessarily one that likes to bring Super Bowl Sunday up at Sunday service, except for the fact that we've decided to also work with Seal Beach that morning, so we're not competing with Super Bowl on that Sunday, which starts at 3:30, not that I know that. But the fact is, we're going to keep reminding you, you'll see it in the newsletter, so on Super Bowl Sunday, go to Seal Beach, and then go home and party like rock stars. That's kind of how it works. So it is the time of our conscious giving. I'm going to go ahead and move into our affirmation because our amazing folks did a beautiful tribute, and I just want to thank you for that. It took us a little bit longer today, and that's okay. Well, it was for me. Of course it's okay, right? So just take that gift that you are today, the gift that you give, that is yourself, that we give to this community. Not just how this community operates, but what we do here is so important. We get to come together and practice asking for help. we get to practice a whole lot of things, including how to practice the spiritual principles that we've learned, whether it's been in class, and if you're new, you can do that too. We've got some classes coming up that you're going to see in the next week. So let's say this with me with respect to the gift that you have, which is you today. I am one with the unity of all life. Hold on a second, that was really sad and poor. Now I realize I have a mic. You weren't ready? Okay, now you're ready? Are you ready? All right, ready on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I am one with the unity of all life. I give from this place of oneness. My abundance is anchored in that oneness, and I honor the oneness of others. We affirm this is true, and so it is. I love abundance because it's never about me. It's about all of us. It's everything. And in that respect, it's abundance happens in my life because I realize my connection to all things, and that's abundance. I also wanted to go in to do some thank yous real quick before we get into our benediction. And thank you, music team, for doing what you do. Thank you for today. Matt is hiding over here doing streaming. Thank you for being back, Matt. I was your streamer last week. I missed Matt so much. I'm really grateful for the share that Jeff almost got to give. We'll post it so you can actually watch it. He's amazing, our leader of the Prac Corps. I'm also really, really grateful for Susan Calick for taking the lead today as Board of Trustee and President. And back here we have Candace, who's pretending she doesn't hear me, who's doing minister support as well as holding vigil. We also have Janine Cochran. Our welcome team today was Carrie. Was there someone else? And Lori online is helping us with our online welcoming. So thank you all, and I'm sure I've missed folks today. Jesse, you stepped in, thank you. Did I miss anybody else? Because when I do this, it's not pretty. No, we're good. Okay, so with that, let's stand and do our benediction. Oh, please don't do that yet. Just give me a few more minutes and I'll get you out of here. So, guilty? Thank you, Valerie. I can hear everything up here. Just careful what you say. I just might share it. Love you, Bobby. See, I love that too. Thank you, Candace, for taking the candle. So as we do this benediction, we recognize that the light is lit, that is being carried out. Who's the light? Thank you. Don't forget that through this week. And ask for help. Ask for help. So, I know, for those of you new, I'm going to ask you a question and you get to play with us today as we close this up. Something amazing's happening. What's happening right now?
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
I'm just going to bring Ray Bradford up here really quick. Yes. The price is right. Come on down, Ray. I'm not kidding. Come here. Oh, no. Come on. So, Ray, you answered that question so beautifully. What is this thing called?
It is this thing called life.
Ray, where is it?
Life is in my mind.
Wait. And?
Life is in my body.
Hold on here. And?
Life is all that I am.
And?
Life is all that we are.
What are we going to do with it?
I accept it. I am it.
And?
I share it with all.
Now this next Thank you. This next part is really important. So how do we do that?
Just the way it appears.
The next part you're not going to like, but it's probably the most important part.
And just the way it appears not.
Now, Ray, I want you to demonstrate gratitude as it starts from your toes. And it moves up through your legs. Great legs, by the way. Moves up into your torso. And as it moves up to your torso, into your neck, and into your head, and let's raise our hands, and at the count of 3, you will say this next life like your life depends on it. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, life!
When you're down and troubled and you need
Please sing along.
and nothing, oh, nothing is going right. Well, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest nights. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You got a friend. If the sky above you grows dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind begins to blow, well, keep your head together and call my name out loud. Knocking at your door, you just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, yeah, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You got a friend. You got a friend. You got a friend. You got a friend. That was very nice. That was very nice.
Have a great week. Namaste.
It's a choir.